I would never go to ask for advice now for somebody doesn't have the particular life model that I want to have.
That's so
You know,
helpful, man.
and we tend to do that a lot. It's like we go to our best friend and say, "Hey, man, how you think I can make like 6 figures, or how do you think I could become, whatever, a movie star, actor, whatever you want, whatever
and
you
they're
want
not
to be."
one.
And you're not one. I don't know, move to Hollywood or whatever. I guess.
And as a friend, the best thing you can say as a friend at that point is go, genuinely, Alex, I don't know.
Exactly. That's the best thing that you can definitely say to me. Is like, honestly, I don't know.
Be honest.
Be honest with me. Don't just say whatever. And like that's been the biggest thing for me because their advice is not as reliable. They're gonna come from a source of come from a place of just like, I want you to succeed, but it's not really advice if you think about it.
And if they tell you, what you could say is, if you're in that position and your friend asks you how do you do something that you haven't done, you could give them advice by saying, well, I know what you don't do, and that's what I'm doing. And then explain to them what you're doing, because if you haven't got there, if you're trying to make $100,000 or something, and your friend says, how should I make $100,000, and you don't make $100,000, you could say, well, I'll tell you what you don't do. You don't get a job at this store,
Exactly.
whatever. And you're like,
Right.
That's advice.
Hey, that's advice. Like,
great advice.
I feel like that person can only support you, when
Yeah.
you coming to them. Like, support them.
Go
Go
I'm
you.
cheering you on, but I can't
Do
play
it,
that
but
game.
I can't really show you how to do that because I don't have it myself,
Then you find people like your coach.
Mhm.
You find people who are doing what you want to do.
Mhm.
You find, like Alex does powerlifting, just crushed his first meet
Mhm.
with 1,500 total, 1,480, right?
1480 would have been.
Yeah,
but they
soft
didn't
knee.
count.
You know what I'm
Soft
saying?
knees is what
One
they
soft
say.
knee. Anyway, but he has a coach that's really, really excellent,
Mhm.
And the guy showing me his lifts was squatting, deadlifting, and benching some heavy weight. What's his total? Is like professional total or national
Man,
total?
I don't want to say because I might not be accurate, but it's probably like 800 something kilograms. So that's like 16, maybe 16, 1,500 pounds total in all 3 lifts, maybe.
It's a lot, man.
That's a lot.
Does he have? Is it 1,500?
I think it's higher 15, maybe lower 16.
I say because that's about where you're at.
Nah, I'm like, my last lift was like 1477, would have been 1488. That's what I'm saying.
And
because
his
it
is
didn't
like 15.
His like higher 15s, probably like 16.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
that's a big difference. He's like what, 10 pounds?
Like an extra 150 pounds.
yeah,
or so.
yeah.
But he's doing what you want to do,
Right.
and that's where you're like, hey, I would like to listen to you. And a lot of it's too, like, not even just the like. What do you think about this? I think a lot of taking advice from people
Mhm.
who are really excelling in the area you want to
Mhm.
is like more meditative, withdrawn, and bigger picture. Like, the technique you're using is not so much important as the reason you're employing that technique is because of the framework that you see this situation through, which is a child of the paradigm that you have about the world. Maybe you're successful not because you found the way to use ad spend revenue or the right grip technique or the right knee sleeves or something.
Right.
Maybe it's because you have this mentality of really never giving up, or you have this mentality of doing the best you can with what you have and never being satisfied. And if I could just spend time around you and get that in my DNA and allow that to express itself, then I could even, like, what'd your coach teach you? You're like, honestly, not a lot, not specifically anything I write down, but there's a way that he looks at the world that has inspired me to achieve the things I want. That's really cool,
Mhm.
you know?
And like you need people like that, like in your circle or as a mentor. Like, he's a mentor to me in powerlifting, because he's doing where I want to be. He's been to nationals, he just did all that. And with me being a personal trainer, it's like, oh, you got a coach, whatever. And like, yeah, I'm not too inclined in like powerlifting. That's a whole nother, area for me.
Yeah, I'm not good at it.
I'm not good at it. I never trained nobody. I never attempted powerlifting,
I want to learn.
I want to learn. So, like, and for me, I was already on the frequency of like, I know I don't know shit in this.
Yeah.
So I know a lot about fitness. So I didn't really, but I would say people like coming in with this thing of like, I know everything. Like, you don't.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to unlearn, then relearn, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. If we got less rain, we could probably throw the gain up a little bit. Just FYI. Okay.
So right now, I'm just a sponge. I'm just learning everything, just watching. Honestly, I feel like a whole lot of my lifts could be a little better. My form can be a lot better on a lot of stuff. So I send videos like, hey, what I need to do. What is this? How does this look to you? Then whatever advice he gives me, I take it and I apply it,
Yeah.
And it's just about like just being being open-minded and just listen, instead of just like pretending like you know everything.
And if you ask someone something that you admire, right?
Mhm.
Have you sipped that coffee yet?
No, I haven't. I don't know if it's cold, hot.
As I was wondering the temperature, his first cup of coffee at that Keurig, it's like blastering hot from it.
Oh, it's perfect.
Perfect. When you ask somebody, because again, the whole topic we're talking about is attracting the world that you believe. Like you have a lot of power in organizing the game. One thing Alex has said a lot to me, which I really respect, is that you become the person that you think you're not, right? Like if you're not a funny person, you don't tell jokes. If you're not a sexy person, you don't really try to seduce your partner.
At all.
So you really put the lines on who you are. But talking about attracting or creating or participating in the world that you would rather participate in, one of the things you might find yourself doing is talking to a mentor, talking to a friend or someone who's been successful in something. And if they tell you something to do, right? Like, what should I do in this situation with my money or my time or my relationship? You know, this person, there's this guy's name keeps popping up on my girlfriend's phone. What should I do? You know? And if they say like, hey, bro, honestly, let that shit go. You know, hey, is she hooking up with him? Right? No, right? What is going on? I'm just seeing his name on our phone sometimes. Great. Let that shit go. And if you're like, no, I encourage you. If you have someone you respect and they're giving you advice and you disagree with the advice, don't be afraid to ask questions because that person, if they're willing to be a teacher, and let's be very grateful for anyone who's willing to be a teacher in your life, that person might help you breadcrumb your way back to a deeper paradigm, a fear of abandonment, a fear of being let down, a fear of not being good enough, or something like that that's deep in your personality that's really pulling the strings.
Right. You don't even know it's there.
You don't even know it's there. And it's like the problem is not that you're not willing to let it go. It's that you're so afraid of someone cheating on you and you're so afraid of being left again like you were when you were a kid. Or, you know, that's very sensitive stuff to even say. But if you have a really thoughtful, considerate teacher who's willing to give you the time, you don't learn from answers. I think that's huge. You don't learn from answers, you learn from questions. Because you ask someone a question, they gave an answer, and if you're like, of course it doesn't make any sense because you wouldn't have even done that, you know? It's not like the right math problem. It's like, why would I let that go, man? She's texting another guy. It's like, express that and don't threaten that person and say they're an idiot, but say, hey, I gotta be honest with you, I disagree with that. Can you help me understand why you come to that conclusion?